The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests as individuals, and do not necessarily reflect those of advertisers or sponsors. This show is intended as entertainment and commentary only. The producers strive for verisimilitude, but nothing said on this podcast should be taken as fact by the listener or viewer without performing due diligence. While generally considered safe for work by way of content, some language may be considered offensive by more sensitive viewers or listeners.
Hey everybody, it's Andy. So we're here with a new episode, but it's actually an old episode. And it's because I wound up getting sick and going into the hospital again. And I wound up getting sick and going into the hospital again right after we recorded this. So you'll hear me reference getting sick, but just know that there was more fun to be had.
He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is.
I'm not. He isn't?
Well, he will be soon. He's very ill.
I'm getting better. No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
We will be recording a new episode next week, and hopefully I will be able to start getting things out with some more consistency, but it's been kind of a rough summer for me. Also, I want to take a minute and make mention of a couple people who I kind of referenced in this episode, but I don't think I did it justice. There are a couple people who have been supporting us throughout the history of Keep Your Hat On. And one of them is my good friend, Liam. And Liam, thank you very, very much for your support, your continuing support. But also my cousin Michelle, who was supporting us and still listens, and hi Michelle. But our number one fan is my buddy Jason, and Jason and his new wife are knee-deep fighting cancer right now. And I just wanted to take a minute to say on behalf of everybody at KYHO, including Dr. Mark and Chris and Robert, that to Jason and his partner, whose name I will not mention for privacy purposes, we're thinking about you guys, and we wish you the very best. Having said all that, here's the episode in kind of its bare bones format, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. There we go. I'm trying to come up with something profound.
Something interesting.
No, you did it. You did it. I'm having
go.
a really weak signal through this earpiece here, so.
All right. Well, I can talk louder.
No, that won't help.
Right?
I don't know what the deal is. I think we're all up here.
I was telling Chris, Mark, that it's been so. I had a call with one of my audiobook clients, and I sat down here and I was fucking lost. I was just like, I don't remember how any of this shit works. That's how
this is so funny.
That's how hard my brain shifted into what I'm doing.
Here's why I'm laughing. Fucking Unix. So Unix always knows what you really need and not what Microsoft thinks you need, right?
Right, yeah.
So I just looked in the sound settings, and it has separate sound settings for all the different speakers that it located for me.
There you go. And no paper clips. No paper clips, helpful paper clips involved.
Oh man, fucking,
right.
And what happened was, I got cut off from, let me fix this too, my view thing is messed up. Gallery view, there we go. Hot diggity, dog diggity. So those bastards at the university, since I'm now emeritus.
Right, we can say that now, those fuckers at the university.
They sent a letter and everything. It was awesome, and it's cheaper than buying me a watch. But they cut off all my Microsoft clients. So I can go on the website and log in and use the web-based shit, and it's like, no. And it's funny, I called Hugh, who has been Mr. Linux for decades, because he's paranoid.
Right. and not wrong.
Just saying.
So go ahead.
Anyway, I just said, is there any reason to keep Microsoft here at all? And he went, why? Because I had done this years ago. I think it was back around 16.04 or something like that for Unix distributions. I was using Mint for a long time, and I'm looking here. Hang on a second. So, but I was using Mint, and it revived this Dell laptop I'd had, for 10 years, and I loaded that sucker up. It ran like a fucking top. So anyway, it's nice to be back, and I just deleted my entire Microsoft universe, and I feel clean.
Right. Well, I tell you what, hi everybody. Welcome back to Keep Your Hat On. This is the show, I guess. We're out of practice.
Yeah, we're
And that
way rusty.
that is 90% due to me, of course. I'm Andrew Scott, along with my good friends Christopher Vicano and Dr. Mark C.E. Peterson, Professor Emeritus of Philosophy.
I know, whatever that is, right?
Right, exactly.
Emeritus.
That means a free man, and he can say whatever he wants.
Well, now I've got a question about this, Mark, and this is
Man.
something that I've been curious about for many, many years, and I've never had the nerve to ask. But you and I are good enough friends that I'm totally comfortable asking you this. As a professor emeritus, do they let you keep the puffy hat, or do they just loan you those?
Oh, I have the
for
puffy
graduation?
hat.
No, you got to buy the puffy hat, right?
No, some people still rent those shit. Actually, there, I could tell. I think I have it over here somewhere. I could tell stories about this too, because here's what's really funny. So just between us chickens, is Hugh, my best friend, never bought his doctoral robes, and so he borrowed mine for 35 years.
Isn't there a height difference?
Not really. No, he's close enough, and
All right.
they fit him fine.
I could just imagine him walking along, kind of looking like cousin.
No, he's about
Miss Fester.
He's 6 feet tall. He's 6 feet tall.
All right, I didn't realize.
But not content to have the official Toronto mortar board, which was the standard mortar board with that.
Right.
Hugh got us a puffy hat. So we had the whole TAM affair, which is legit.
I love it.
But anyway, so yeah, I have a puffy hat.
Well, yeah, that's
what I get to keep.
That is something that happened. That is something that happened in the intervening time. Of course, I did a dump a little while ago. No funnies. I did I put up a couple of our earlier recordings that we did in March, April, May.
I guess so. Yeah,
something like that. And again, for all you people that have been following along, thank you very much. It's been a weird year for me. It's been a weird year kind of for us. It's been a weird year for media in general, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about that. First off, though, I want to say thank you to our past supporters, my cousin Michelle, and a bunch of our other people who have contributed money to help keep the lights on, even though we kind of walked out of the room and shut them off on that.
Our eight listeners in India, especially. We owe them
listeners in India.
A big thanks.
Yeah, my friend Liam, and of course our really good friend and financial supporter Jason. Thank you, Jason, and thanks for hanging out and being patient with us. I guess I'll say for me that we're talking about Dr. Mark retired from his professorship. Well, you didn't retire from your professorship. You got retired from the paid part of it.
Yeah, it's really weird. You guys are too young, but I could prep you for the weird, freakish. You guys have been gigging your whole life, so it's just like, but it's like this is the first September of my life since I was 4 years old that I didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, and see, it's interesting because, and this is something that I haven't really discussed much, and that is I'm kind of retiring as well. I'm moving away from what I've been doing for the past decade, which is full-time voiceover work and gig work, and kind of shifting over into be a bit more of a homebody, take care of my wife, and frankly, take care of myself, because my disability is changing. My physical disability is changing, and I have new limitations that really took me by surprise and set in on me, not to make it sound like they were exclusively because of the pandemic. That's not fair. If I look back over the trajectory of the last 7-8 years, almost 10 years, actually, things started changing, and I didn't notice them, give them enough room, things like that. But now they most certainly were exacerbated by the pandemic, living and being in this room, literally at times 16 to 20 hours a day.
Constantly, yeah.
I just decided right about at the beginning of 2024, I was like, you know what? I can't have what I'm doing speed up my demise and decline. I got to do something different.
That sounds like a good plan.
I had a slightly similar sort of realization in the last, in the ensuing time since our last, get together. And that is, I've been feeling this really urge to get back out in the world. And again, I could blame it on the pandemic, but I was already becoming really insular and insulated prior to that, and had gotten very sort of comfortable, within the safe confines of my own little micro empire here. And and I mean, yeah, I going out there still kind of exhausts me and wears me out, and frustrates me because, living in a society with other people can be frustrating. And I'm
Increasingly.
Right.
and I'm not trying to be charitable, and I think I'm trying to be practical about this, that we all have different things that we want to accomplish out of our day, out of every moment, out of whatever. And sometimes those things, bump into each other, and it's it's just what it is. It used to not be a big deal.
It's interesting that you bring that angle up, Chris, because for me, and again, I accomplished some really good things over the pandemic. I wrote a book. I published a book, a lot with Chris's help. I did a bunch of teaching, which is something that I really enjoy. And to all my former students, thank you very much for your support and all that business. And I was the voice of a number of things. And to say that I'm not stopping voice work entirely. I am scaling back as far as possible while still keeping a foot in the realm. But what really struck me right before the end of the year was I was just like, sorry to get morbid. Here we are, everybody in their 50s and 60s. Let's get morbid.
Go ahead.
What am I leaving behind? Again, I have this theory. I have this thing that's been going on for me for the last couple of years, and that is everything since the year 2000 lives forever. Nothing goes away. It is all in the digital cloud. Everything lasts forever.
This is why I can never run for president.
Same. And I was just like, what am I leaving behind? And frankly, for me, it's this idea of what I kind of call digital dust. It is just this stuff, communications, bullshit, lies that I've told 25 years ago, things like that. And I stopped and I went, there's virtually nothing tangible that's left behind for me. And I've got a visual illustration of something that really kind of did it for me. And that is, I'm going to pull my ears out here.
We can talk about him because he can't hear us now.
So this guy here is
Look what he made, Chris. Isn't that
meditation
awesome?
bench. Back
That's
about
beautiful.
12,
Footstool?
15 years ago, Ty and I, and this is kind of where Ty and I really got to be very good friends. I screwed up my thing. Ty and I helped build a Zendo. And it's probably one of the most significant things I've ever done in my life. I feel honored to have, God damn it, hold on.
We can say this together. He's pulling his headphones out of his...
I feel deeply honored to have been able to use some of my knowledge and skill acquired from many years of weird employ. And
Major Tom can hear us.
I have the ability to think that even in this life of impermanence,
it's like a Rubik's Cube. Oh, go on.
Is made out of wood from a 125-year-old church that was converted to a Zendo. And I made it. And this will outlast me.
Yeah.
And it made me stop and think, what else am I leaving behind? What else am I leaving? Not that I want to live forever or make some, huge mark, but something that my kid can look at or that a friend can see. And I just suddenly shifted gears like throwing a transmission into reverse while going 60 miles an hour. And I got out in my shop, which has been in a sad state of disrepair.
Some of us have been following the process.
Hold on, I'm not hearing anybody because I think I unplugged myself. Why am I not hearing you guys now?
I don't know, Andrew.
Hold on. Hold on.
Andy.
There, now I can hear you. Sorry, go ahead.
There we go. Okay.
Oh,
wait.
It suddenly became really, really important to me to not just sit here and waste away. Truth of the matter is, because of my disability, I'm actually physically older than you are, Dr. Mark.
I believe you.
I've been disabled since 15.
Yeah.
And we're getting echo off of you now.
Yeah, of course you are, because
Yeah.
everything is higgledy-piggledy. Hold on. I imagine you're not getting it now.
Let's test and see.
Give me a second.
We can
That's better.
find out. Yeah.
There.
That's fine.
Okay. I imagine that's
There it
better.
Better.
Yes.
Yep.
It is.
So this whole thing of me, I mean, I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down a lot. This past week, for some reason, I jacked up my shoulder again. This is my good arm. If I fuck this thing up, I'm kind of sunk, and I probably did it pull starting my new chipper shredder, which, by the way, what a lovely device it is. There's nothing more gratifying than taking a gigantic branch and turning it into dust in a cup.
Chip. Yeah. Oh dear.
But I was just like, no, I got to get back to the act of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Creating and the inspiration, being inspired. I love the word inspiration because of what it actually means. In much the same way, Mark, that you so adroitly taught people in college what the word religion actually means, religios, to reattach yourself to the important shit.
Yeah. Like breathing, you were
right?
about to say.
Well, and that's exactly right, because that's what inspiration means. What comes through to us, the breath of existence. And I was just like, I got to get back to it. And so I had an opportunity, for reasons that shall go unexplained. I had a financial opportunity, although I went way overboard. That's me. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my days. Even if I suck at it, even if I just make toothpicks, I got to do something again. Now, one of the things that I did in my varied career as being employed was I was a union machinist for a number of years and a millwright. I went in and fixed or installed the machines that the machinists used to make the machines. And I was able to do that back in the day because I was physically much more capable. But now I'm not. And I've always loved wood. And I've not been, I would never categorize myself as a woodworker. What I was a maker and a builder. And we had a very dramatic need in our home, our little ranch home, to get all the friggin' yard shit out of the shop and into something that will hold more stuff. Why did you tell me the meeting was being recorded? You're telling me that now?
You're only paying attention now. You're on a roll. Keep going.
Maybe. So one of the other things I really enjoy doing is repurposing materials that already exist. I'm so, and this might be from a life of poverty, I hate waste. I really hate waste. And I always wanted to build something with pallets because they friggin' exist. And we're swimming in the damn thing. And it's hardwood. And so I set to task and I started building an 8x8 shed with disused shipping pallets. And I'm sure I'm showing a picture of it now.
Look at that.
Right? And it's, if anybody follows me on Instagram, it's all I've been showing lately. It's from old pulled down cedar fencing is the siding. And Ryan, our boy Ryan, helped me with the flooring and the walls. And Heather helped. And it's not just me building it, it's my family building it. And Chris has seen it. And it actually holds stuff. And it reminded me that no matter what state my disability is in, I still can do more things than not. Mm-hmm. And I still got something to give. And so now I've got a shop that's got a fantastic table saw and a 6-inch jointer and a...
you got all the toys.
Oh, yeah. And I got a brand new Hercules planer, thickness planer. And the crowning jewel of all of it is an absolutely fantastic jet wood lathe. That is just, it literally sounds so quiet. It's like the episode of The Office where somebody first got their Toyota Prius and was running in silent mode and sneaking up on everybody in the parking lot. It is just absolutely quiet. And wood turning is something that I always wanted to do.
That's pretty meditative stuff too. I mean, really, it's just like, you know.
You have to be loose. You have to be calm about it, because if you don't, you dig that thing in, you're going to wind up with a handle in your chin. And so, I scored about a quarter ton of walnut, not black walnut, just walnut, really high quality walnut, furniture quality walnut. And I was talking to this guy that I was getting it from. He was selling me his cast offs, like cut ends of glue ups and things like that, but still really nice stuff.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And he sold it to me for a song. And he's a really nice guy. And he is a high end table maker. And, you know, he's just like, what are your plans? And I was just like, I'm just getting back into it. And, you know, I don't really have a plan yet. Part of me wants to try wood turning, but, you know, and I was being honest with him. And I showed him my right hand, which has very little dexterity. And I said, you know, I don't think I can. The last time I did any wood turning, I was literally in 7th grade. And he's just like, he stops me and he goes, dude, all your right hand does is give direction. If you've got the dexterity here, you got what it takes.
So you just pinch with the right hand and push with the left.
Pretty much. It's the whole thing is actually a very gentle process. And as you said, very meditative. And to be honest, wood turning on YouTube,
it's pornographic, isn't it?
And it got me through the pandemic. Seriously, that's what we would put on to kind of just, the guys that I watch, it's almost like lathe ASMR. It is just the sound of the lathe going and, you know, the tool happening. And watching these guys using epoxy, and the ones that I really like are the ones that they're turning some kind of gnarly ass burl that they put in a 5-gallon bucket of epoxy. And so it's a bunch of negative space filled with epoxy and color. And so it's not that what I do here is any less important to me. We've now done 3 years and plus of this conversation between us 4 friends. And by the way, Ty's not here yet. He will probably try to jump in later. And this is still something that I enjoy doing. But I think we're all now culturally in a place where we go, okay, that part of the weirdness is over. And there's an all new weirdness here. And I don't quite know how, to navigate it. And I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room a little bit, don't we? I mean, aside from our prohibition of not getting political and choosing sides,
Before we jump,
what? Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
before
Sorry.
we jump into that, it's interesting to me, the way you described this, and that that you framed it in terms of thinking about your legacy, right? And thinking about what's your mark on the world. Um, because I think you and I have sort of passed each other going going opposite directions a little bit. Uh, for me, in recent months and in the past year, I'd say, um, but really, especially, it feels like it's sped up in recent months. Um, Let me backpedal a little bit. Ever since I was a little kid, growing up with my own disability, hemophilia, being the weird odd kid who couldn't, play football with the guys out on during recess, things like that. Uh, you know, Always acutely aware of how different I was, and how less I was. Um, I I started to obsess from about the age of 8, probably, maybe 10, uh, about what my mark on the world would be. And to be really, um, sort of on this, it evolved into sort of this profound personal quest for, what is my legacy. And it was both, it was both a benefit and a sort of a demon that haunted me, in the sense that, the demon is, I want to get to it. I want to get it done. I want to figure it out. I want to unlock this thing, right? This is this big puzzle, this big question mark, and I don't know what it is, and I want to figure it out. But then the benefit is, it sort of drove me to be deliberate about everything that I did in my life, and to think with a view towards what sort of mark I would leave behind. And and that, I mean, I have been chewing on that for, 40 years now. And recently I've gotten to this place where I'm like, I've had this sort of realization in my own life that my legacy is going to take care of itself. I have exactly zero control over it. And that I'm going to be remembered however I'm going to be remembered. Maybe I won't be remembered. And the sooner I get myself okay with that, uh, the happier, the more content, the more at peace with myself I'm going to be. But there's another piece of it which gives me reassurance that in some way, shape, or form I will be remembered, and that I look to Le Corbusier. Yeah, as I always say, you find wisdom in the strangest places. Corbusier, the architect, had this concept of the red thread, um, and it's essentially it's the underlying theme that you aren't even aware of, that travels through your entire life's body of work and ties it all together beautifully. And you have no control over what your red thread is. It's just there, and it manifests because that work came through your hands. And so I take great comfort in that red thread. And so I've shifted to this place of thinking much more about, um, really focusing on affecting the lives around me in a positive way. And that's what I want my legacy to be more than anything else, is that when I leave the room, I hope people say, yeah, he was a good guy. He contributed to the room.
I think I just want to be clear about one thing. Number one, I agree with everything he said. And Dr. Mark, I want your opinion on something here after I'm done saying this, and that is, I am not concerned about my legacy. I'm concerned about footprints and echoes.
Ripples. Let's stay with
Ripples.
let's stay with
Exactly,
the dead.
exactly.
Yeah, anyway, ripples.
And of course, that is the song. That's the last song that'll be played whenever they hold my Goodbye Party, because that's my song. And that is true. You know, if I knew the way, I would take you home. But this idea that I stepped away from, and to be fair, what I was doing digitally was creation.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm proud of what I've done. But there's something about making something tangible, making something extant.
Yeah, it's true.
And Mark, now that you are on the other side, as it were, first off, I want to give a hat tip and a pointer to all of our listeners all over the world on one or two hands. Go check out Dr. Mark's offering, the Motley Cow. It is Mark.
I was just talking about this. Go on. Yeah.
It is Dr. Mark unfiltered in the best possible way. And there are so many things that you've helped condense into bite-sized cud, as it were, I guess, right? But
yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Where are you going?
So, if you read it, did you read the retirement issue?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
It was
That's why I'm throwing it open to you, because for those people who haven't, there was a lot said.
So, and it's like completely obvious, and it's like, I don't know where I learned this. It was probably Bob Perkins or Peter Churchill or one of my mentors that said, if you want to know what a word means, you should just look it up. And it's amazing how often that doesn't happen. Anyway, people kept, so here's the problem. People kept, so I got retired. And the irony, of course, is like, my day is essentially no different, except I don't have to worry about grading papers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, but here's the thing. So people kept congratulating me on my retirement.
That's like people congratulating you on your birthday.
It's actually a little more poisonous than that, because because the underlying assumption when somebody says, "Oh, thank God you retired, man, congratulations," right. The implication is, boy, we all hate our jobs so much, and I just feel happy that you were able to finally clear out of that effort. And it's like, yeah, but I really liked my job, so it's like, why would you congratulate me for leaving it? You got this so far, right? But of course, we'll talk about Marxist alienation from the 1844 manuscripts at another time. But
where's my rim shot?
Yeah. Okay. Most people hate their fucking jobs, man. And so when they retire, it's like this huge relief. And so I got to thinking about this, and it's like, well, what if this congratulations doesn't apply to me? And so I got busy, and I kept thinking about retiring. And then I remembered, for no reason at all, that I had seen it. There was an advertisement from this tire company back in like the 19-teens when they were building tires for Model Ts and shit, and it had a little baby. I put it up. It's up on that particular Motley Cow.
And there's a link down in the description.
Yeah, there's a little baby. He's got a tire around it, and he's yawning, and he goes, "Time to retire." And I thought, so retire, the word is complicated, because if you retire, that means you're finally going to rest from work, but now you're getting retired again. So that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. And doesn't it mean that you're going to start something else and be tired all over again?
See, so that's what I wondered. But then, thank God, I realized it also means to retire. So I'm putting on new tires to go off road. That is
get some more traction.
That is that's what we're going. And the important thing about this is we're going, and this is my Jungian unconscious coughed this up beautifully, that I'm going off road. And the connection there ties into the rest of my life. This is Chris's red thread, which is exactly like smack on. Courvoisier didn't get that alone. If I interject the ancient stuff here, there was an earlier version of the god Eros, other than just Aphrodite's kid. And the earlier one is that chthonic underground, it's that subterranean tide that drags you along in places you can't know, but that feel fine, that's exactly where I'm supposed to be, right? And which is how I ended up in West Bend. And I was thinking about this. It's like I spent 36 years living in West Bend. It's like that's like the last place I ever would have thought to be, but it was exactly right, And so now off-road. Oh, so the plug into the red thread is I always go back to this line from the Arthurian legend from Parsifal. It's from Parsifal, from von Eschenbach's Parsifal. And it's when the knights went off. We may have done this before, but that's okay. When the knights go off to look for the Holy Grail, there's this one line that has like resonated in my head since I was 18. And it's the one that goes like this. It goes, each of them left the road where the woods were darkest and there was no path. And the beauty of that, it sounds, ooh, it's beautifully written, but the beauty of that is it speaks to the gateless gate stuff from Zen immediately.
Yep.
But in a Western idiom, and the idea is, of course, that if you're on a path, well, you're not going to find your grail because somebody's already been there, right?
Yeah.
So you need to go someplace where there isn't one, and so this is why I need off-road.
Yeah, I mean that's Walt Whitman watered that down for us in a really big way later on in human history with the path less traveled by,
Well, and not only that,
Frost.
that it also, Frost.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Frost.
It
I
also
always mix those two up.
It also reoccurs in people that are super significant in my life, like Gary Snyder.
Oh yeah, he's all over this stuff, right? I mean,
well, and part of it is because of something that you just pointed out, and that is, and I did this, I did a paper on this back in the day, in that the Arthurian legends are fucking chock-a-block full of Zen. It really is this idea that you go looking for something and there's no end to the search. The search is not, the end is not the end. The end is never the end. And
interrupt.
Look at this bald guy, will you?
Right?
Yeah,
Speaking of Zen, that's one of my favorite pictures of Ty.
Yeah. It looks like the guy from Prometheus there for a sec. Okay, hi.
All right. Hold on a second. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to start this recording again so everything is synced up. Ty just got here. Hopefully this isn't scrambled, but we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Bye. And 3, 2, and we're back. Hello and welcome back to Keep Your Hat On, the show where hell, even we don't know where we're going to go. At least I remembered how to do that part. I'm Andrew Scott, of course, along with my good friends Chris Vicano and Dr. Mark C.E. Peterson, Emeritus Professor of Philosophy. And we are joined now by our fellow brother from another mother, Ty Robert Anthony. Ty, how you doing, buddy? And Dr. Mark asked a question of you. Yeah, camping. Where are you guys going? What's going on?
Where are you going?
Well, it's that time every year we go to the country fair.
Yeah, Oregon Country Fair is, what was it, 35 years? Is this the?
I think it's more than 50.
Is it like a state fair?
Okay.
Is that what it is?
No, it is a cavalcade of hippie weirdness in beautiful Oregon. And
wow.
That's a good look right there, Ty.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds entirely appropriate, actually.
It is wonderful. Ty, you and your beautiful partner got married there. That's how important Oregon Country Fair is to you.
And it just makes the anniversary easy.
Yeah.
That's
Zoom yourself in a little bit, Ty, though you look tiny. And you should try to be about as big as the rest of it.
That?
No, one more. There. That's
okay.
Okay, now take that control, put it in the other room, and don't fuck with it again. So, see, some things don't change no matter how long we take off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing this how many years now?
It's coming up on 3.5, headed towards 4.
4, yeah.
Against everybody's better judgment.
Against everyone.
You were warned.
But yeah, so you're getting all packed up. When are you rolling out?
We're gonna roll out Thursday morning, probably.
Oh, good. After we're in a major heat wave here in the Pacific Northwest. It is definitely not the Pacific Northwest right now. I just spent the weekend installing sprinklers so that our garden doesn't shrivel up and
Are you
die.
on fire yet there? I mean,
No, our closest
we are in
fire.
relatively good shape in
Yeah.
Washington and
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
We have one major fire right now burning, and we have some, the lower part of the state is on a watch.
Yeah. And the one major fire that we've got going on is fortunately pretty isolated by way of its impact on communities, which is oddly unlike what it normally is this time of year. We've historically, for the past 5 years, we've had a fire that has put a major urban area under threat every year for like the last 5 years. And it's been bad.
It's been crazy to watch
getting
this.
to feel in Oregon like everything that could burn has burned. And
well, don't say that.
No.
Good Lord, no.
No.
But it really does speak to the environmental change that's happened. What we lucked out with is that this past spring for us has been unusually wet. And by unusually wet, I mean wet like it used to be when I first moved out here. It's been more normal.
We finally got out of a drought this year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that shift between La Nina and El Nino, which is happening right now. And we're in, as Ty said, we're in a kind of a odd good pocket right now. Northwestern Washington, there's that conflagration that's happening on the Idaho border right now. That's getting a little bit. And then, the gigantormous fire down in California.
Yeah.
I'm making it sound better than it is. We are all still nervous.
Great Lakes person says nothing.
Right. Exactly. How the mosquitoes doing, buddy?
75 degrees today. No mosquitoes yet here on the lake.
Yeah. I think the last time I checked out on my patio, it was 98 degrees. Ambient temperatures about 88. Tomorrow and Tuesday, we're expecting 102 and 103.
Can you just put up like giant like sunshades over your house? To just, is that a thing?
I got one of those. It's called
It's
a
called
tree?
Japanese maple.
Yeah, giant trees. Yeah.
It is huge.
That's got to work. That's got to help, right? I mean,
It covers pretty much my whole backyard and part of my roof.
It depends. I've got a Sitka behind my house. That's the one that's in the backyard. I actually had an arborist here a couple weeks ago from the power company who, number one, told me good news, saying it's like the healthiest tree on the entire block, which made me feel really good because it's 120 feet tall and it's only 30 feet off my back door. If that thing ever comes down, we're gone. But the whole thing about this is climate change. This is why people here in this area, nobody argues about climate change. Nobody argues about it because it's so evident what has changed for us. If you've lived here, I moved out here in 99. Ty, when did you get up here again?
I think I was out here in 93.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're like 6-7 years before me. Those of us who showed up here right around the millennium, we know change because we literally showed up and watched it happen year after year after year, both with the incredibly hot summers. I mean, nobody's got a lawn here at this time of year. It's all just crispy. And then the winters where if I first moved out here, a few snowflakes. Now we get a foot or more of snow at least once a year. Yeah, well, that's true. But, we've had some really significant shutdown events as well. But regardless, Ty's going camping, so you guys are going to OCF. Ty was very helpful with me last week. We went on an adventure and went and got my new lathe. How's your shoulder?
Oh, your shoulder's fine. Shoulder's
yeah,
good.
Mine's not, but I think that was from something else.
boys.
We're a lot of lifting there for you.
Ty, we're talking about one of the things that we never talk about is something I do want to address here in the last segment of the show. And that is that which shall not be mentioned, which of course is politics. But I want to kind of tie it in to what Chris and Dr. Mark and I have been talking about in this idea of retirement. When do we say enough is enough? When do we, as a culture, say we have to do something about these old white guys insisting on running everything? It's something that's really come up for me. And Dr. Mark, I think in tying together with the Motley Cow, which again, linked down in the description, what are your thoughts? At the same time, being that we're all kind of getting older, we start feeling this devaluation because of our age, right?
Well, no, I don't.
Well, bless you. Yeah.
The funny thing is like under the established patriarchy,
You're set.
I'm in slop, man. Cops don't even stop me anymore. This guy, whatever. And I knew this when I turned 50 and I got stopped driving up to Eau Claire someplace. There's a bunch of speed traps up that way, you guys. And a cop pulls me over. I was going about 15 over, and he comes in, he looks and he goes, sir, you know how fast you were going? I said, yeah, officer, I do. He goes, oh, okay. Warning. And I remember thinking, what? What? It was because I'm old. That's the thing. So I'm not only am I a white guy, I'm an old white guy now. Yeah. Oh, welcome. Yes.
I've been in for a year now.
Yeah,
I get the discounts.
So I have a lot of theories about this, but I'll tell you the one that's been working on me lately, and it's that this has been one of these ongoing philosophical questions that's been chasing itself like a hamster in the back of my head for literally 40 years. And it's the question is whether humans are natural or not. Now, the official version of that, the official answer to that question in Western culture is we're not. We're not natural. We're created by God and blah, blah, blah. And that, people go, well, we know that's not true anymore. It's yeah, but that doesn't mean we don't all believe it or act like it, right? So there's that. But then the follow-up is, well, if we are natural, are we any different from deer? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's
squid.
Anything will consume as much of its environment and reproduce until it can't.
Yep.
And every time I drive any place now, and this is a sure sign of my age, but let me just, we've talked about this before too, but let me tweak you into this. When I taught environmental ethics all these years, especially the last few years, I'm looking at these 18-year-olds. So I was 18 in 1974. In 1974, so I would say to these 18-year-olds, okay, when I was your age, there were half as many people in the world.
Yep.
And it's every place I drive now, Summerfest is going on down the lake here, Andy. One of the downsides of living on the east side of Milwaukee is that everybody wants to come here during the summers, and you can't get out.
And at night, all you hear now is boom,
boom, boom, boom. Oh, and Harleys going by down the lake on the drive. I'm far enough away from that so I don't hear it. But my suspicion is now, just based on our behavior, it's when is enough? The answer is I was sort of hopeful that somebody would wake up and go, we could actually make decisions about this. But we have one of the parties has taken over the disinformation campaign in spades. I mean, in spectacularly successful function. And there's a great documentary right now on Prime called Bad Faith.
I've heard about that.
Well, this is about Paul Weyrich, who I've been studying this guy since 1990 something. And he was the guy who went, after Goldwater lost his election, he went to the Library of Congress and hand copied out Goldwater's contributor list. And that's the beginning of the conservative movement that has come to fruition now with Mr. Trump.
And not only that, it's also kind of the beginnings of data farming. If you think about it,
he was in his
targeted mail list.
He was a direct mail marketer. That's what he did, and so it's duh. Okay, having said all this, I think we're more like deer than other things, and I think it may just end up. My spiritual mentor, when I would raise these questions with her in the ancient days ago, she'd go, "Oh, sweetheart," she'd say, The only thing that's going to save this planet is the worst kind of dictatorship and a new religion to go with it to force people to behave, because otherwise they're just not going to do it. And I would say things like, well, that sounds terrible. She goes, worse than extinction? So it's like, so I haven't figured out the answer to this at all, but that's what's swirling around in my squirrel brain.
And I think, honestly, your spiritual teacher and one of my spiritual teachers they're right. And that is,
Did they say that too?
pretty damn close. It's interesting that you point out the fact that, a life form, generally speaking, any kind of species will consume as much as possible until there's nothing left to consume and consume itself right out of existence.
Yeah, Malthus, man.
And that is, best illustrated by bacteria.
Yeah.
The idea that there is no bacteria that will happily reach a state of homeostasis. Even the good bacteria in our gut is kept in check by other good bacteria in our gut competing for resources.
Yeah. So that's not very optimistic, but it's like, it's weird. And it's weird because I'm still hopeful about things, which is like, I know kind of mentally ill, but I remain hopeful.
No, and it's interesting because, when Ty and I were with one of our teachers, one of the things that always comes up eventually with somebody, and Ty, you can mention your experience with this as well. When we strip everything away and we get down to the ugly truth of things, the ugly truth is that we're fucking terrible beings. We're awful, and we make a
we're
mess.
An adaptation. We're just an evolutionary adaptation, Andy. We're just doing our job, and part of it's extinction.
And exactly right. But that doesn't preclude you. Not only does it not preclude you being hopeful, it actually is the reason to be hopeful.
It can be, yeah.
And I remember one of our spiritual teachers said when somebody brought this up, this idea that, this nihilistic sort of the feeling that everything is terrible and nobody is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I remember them saying, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And it just right there.
Yeah, it's really true.
It just sort of circles around. Ty, say something that makes anybody feel better about the state of the world.
There
you go. I throw it to you.
You can do it. Do it.
First of all, we're at carrying capacity. Second of all, we're not. We are bad as a collective, not as individuals.
That's a really good point.
Until we can change the way we move societally, that's just how it's going to be. In terms of getting old, first of all, side tributary, Mark, I got you beat last year coming back from the fair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got pulled over for not going fast enough.
And not only that, you got COVID from it, too.
And I was in the fast lane. So
that is an embarrassing situation.
It's nothing says, oh, you're getting old, like getting pulled over for not going fast enough.
Would you fucking hurry up? The rectangle on the floor, that's the thing that makes you go faster.
But I mean, when it comes to this age thing in politics, look, we are picking over something and we're forgetting something very seriously. The president does not make these decisions in a vacuum.
Yeah,
right?
true.
He's got a whole big team of monkeys giving him advice.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, the current president does, let's say.
Well, do you want somebody who's old and going to listen to the people around him, or is old and just going to do whatever they want because it serves them?
Well, the ones who want the candy are going to vote for one of these people.
Right.
And the ones who don't want the candy but want social responsibility will vote for the other one.
Yeah, the ones that want to take the medicine to make things better.
Well, here's the deal. I ate the marshmallows, right? But I still...
You picked them out.
...believe that, we need to give this fella another 4 years.
I'm not even talking about that. And I want to be really clear about this. When I posed that question at first, it was not to both of our options are fucking old white dudes, and and that's all we really seem to get. Whenever we get somebody dynamic, whenever we get somebody new, whenever we get somebody fresh, or God forbid somebody who's not a fucking white dude, what isn't there something to be said for? And boy, this is an uncomfortable conversation, but shouldn't we treat being president of the United States as seriously as we do in giving somebody a driver's license?
You should think.
Yeah, you would assume. If I could jump in here,
Please.
because I mean, I've got a lot of multi-layered thoughts about this. I've been thinking about this quite a bit, very heavily lately, and your most recent Substack, Mark, really hit me the right way.
In the description. There we go. I'm pumping it for all it's worth, Mark.
Which one was it?
Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
You know, and that ties into this.
Yeah.
Is and I'll try to crystallize this, but bear with me a little bit, because I'm gonna wander a little bit, as I tend to do, because
well, we're on the downhill slope, so keep it to 4 or 5 tentacles.
I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep it tight. So first off, I mean, I agree absolutely that as I love your point, Ty, that as individuals we tend to lean towards being good, being compassionate, being caring, being kind.
Yes, some of us.
And it's a sweeping generalization. But then as a collective, all of that kind of goes out the window, and it sort of becomes, it gets very ugly. And this is manifested in a number of places in our social order. You know, we're talking about, you know, how politics has been perverted into this, you know, 2 terrible decisions, or 2 terrible choices. You know, the old guy who is going to listen to the people around him, or, you know, the old Candyman. And honestly, as far as the Candyman, the people who are going to reach for the piece of candy, and this connects very much to Mark, your reference to I can't pronounce his name, Tyricius, or
Thyestes?
Thyestes. Thank you.
I'm kind of embarrassed that I know that, by the way.
That what's really horrifying that it hasn't even dawned on anybody to bring it up, and so I'm going to call it out, is after this election, if the Candyman wins, he has got nothing to lose, because he doesn't have another campaign to run.
Nope.
He has, and my prediction is he is going to turn on all of those people that are reaching for the candy, and they are going to have the dawning realization too late that he doesn't give a fuck about them.
I wish I believed you. I don't think they will, actually. I think they'll stick with him anyway.
But I think it's going to be writ large. I think it's going to be unavoidable.
Chris, you are making the assumption that the first thing he does or doesn't do is come up with a magical way to have a 3rd term.
Well,
or an infinite number of future terms.
Right, exactly.
Even that, as long as he doesn't have to get reelected.
Are we calling him the Candyman because of the recent Epstein dump?
No, but that's got to be a topic for a different time.
I'll let you know in a second. Keep going.
But okay, so let's step away from the perversion of politics for a minute, and there's something else that's been very much on my mind, and that's the perversion of religion, and that you know, a lot of people have looked at this, and since the 1950s. Church attendance has steadily eroded. People have been, you know, abandoning in droves. And what I see has been happening is that, yes, but they've been replaced. And that's because religion has been twisted into a platform whereby people have cover to be cruel.
Yeah.
and
I think
they
that's open.
you know, because all you got to do at the end of the day is, you know, just make sure you get in a sorry God before you die, right? And everything's okay, and it gives license to be a complete, utter, self-absorbed bastard, go to your darker nature, and not only that, but it gives you license to look down on other people who are not part of your group.
Yeah, I'm comfortable blaming Christianity for most of this. Yeah.
Well, I think it's
was just
across
gonna,
a lot of religions.
I would say
Okay.
that, yeah, exactly right. Pretty much
Okay.
any time a bunch of people gather together
And it gives
seems to be, it seems to turn into an us versus them
It
thing.
gets bad.
and so when you try to talk to these people about, well, yeah, but that's not what your book says. That's not what your guy originally taught. And I don't care what the book is or who the guy
Oh
is.
yeah, then nobody ever likes that when you start pointing them back to their source materials.
Well, because they haven't fucking looked at the source materials. They don't care about that. That's not the point. The point is the cruelty.
I got kicked out of Sunday school for something.
and the permission.
No, see, it served you right, Ty. We gotta wrap this up here. We're coming up on the hour, past it, well past it. You know, I guess for me, and thank you, Chris, because that does bring up a couple interesting points of view on it. My thing, I guess, is this, and this ties back to the whole Arthurian legend situation and goes back into my weird spirituality, which is former good Catholic boy who wound up becoming a Zen weirdo with a whole bunch of shamanistic training.
Too much.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, look, do yourself a favor. If you ever want to see the nexus point, the beautiful nexus point between Zen Buddhism and shamanism, you know, read Sharon Salzberg, Sharon Salzberg, or there are a couple other I'll put in the thing. I guess it goes back to us talking about the Arthurian legends and the fact that I am starting to feel this weirdness that comes with age, and that I can't go out and do any job anymore. People look at me like, well, what do you know? You're old, right? And there's a reason, though. I think there's a significant reason why it works in this dynamic too, with these two old dudes. I don't want to throw out old people because wisdom of age is important, but I think there's probably a reason why Arthur was king and his advisor was the old guy. And really with that, this is the show. I would say this is the all new Keep Your Hat On, but it's really the old Keep Your Hat On. It's just a bunch of disorganized mess and four guys getting together to have a nice chat with each other. But until next time, everybody, I'm Andrew Scott. Of course, that is Ty Robert Anthony, Chris Vicano, and Dr. Mark C.E. Peterson. Go read The Motley Cow. Do us a favor, follow us wherever we are, which is not many places except YouTube anymore. And see you next time on Keep Your Hat On, because we definitely will end up miles from here. Take care, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.